Hi, I'm going to tell you a story about my recent trip to Hawaii. My husband Lloyd and I flew there to celebrate his recent retirement and our 26th anniversary. It was his first time to Hawaii. I had been there 2 other times. The first time I went with my mom and my sister. It was just a girls' trip. And then another time I went with my mom and my kids. They were probably 7 years old at the time. Interestingly enough, each time I've gone to Hawaii, I've flown through LAX, Los Angeles. And the first 2 times that I went, I lost a pair of glasses each time on the plane. The first trip that I went with my mom and my sister, I left my glasses in the seat in front of me on my way home. And by the time I got back on the plane to recover them, they had already been picked up by the cleaning people, and I never got them back. The other trip that I went with my mom and the kids, I actually left the glasses in the seat in front of me on my way to Maui, and when I got to Maui, discovered I had left them there. Again, got back on the plane, but they were no longer there, so I didn't have any glasses. Fortunately for me, this time I didn't lose my glasses on the plane. We stayed at the Marriott Vacation Club, which was great. The first 2 trips I went with the girls, and with my mom and the kids, we rented a condo, which was nice, but the place where we stayed this trip, it was really great. We were right on the beachfront, so we could go for a walk along the beach every morning. We had a spectacular view of the ocean, and we had a nice 1-bedroom suite, so we had a kitchen there and a refrigerator, and we could cook if we wanted to. We had 2 patios and everything. It was really nice. The other 2 trips, when I went with the girls and then with my mom and the kids, we had rented a condo. We had to drive to the beach if we wanted to get to the beach, so it wasn't as convenient. So this trip was really nice. I liked the accommodations a lot better than the last 2 times I had been there. And each trip that I went, I did something different, which is really kind of fun. This trip, my husband and I drove the road to Hana, and if you can picture the island of Maui like the number 8, we were staying at the Marriott in the northwest corner of the island, so we had to drive south along the west border to the middle of the shape of the 8, and then up along the north part of the island to get to Hana. And this road was full of curves, 180-degree, 360-degree turns, hairpin turns and everything. There were tons of waterfalls and everything. It was a spectacular ride to get to Hana. And when we got there, we stopped and grabbed a bite to eat. And after we ate, we came back the other road where we drove down the eastern border of the island along the south part up near Haleakala Mountain, which we were going to be going up and taking a trip down in a couple of days. And then we finally headed back over to where we were staying at the hotel. When I was there with my mom and my sister, they weren't interested in driving the road to Hana. That trip we did parasailing and jet ski stuff, fun stuff like that. And the time after that, when I went with the kids and my mom, I knew that drive wouldn't be so good because my daughter suffers from car sickness, so we didn't do it. But it was a really cool drive to Hana and back. Another great thing we did this trip was we took a bike ride down Haleakala. Haleakala is a volcano, an active volcano on the island of Maui. They came and picked us up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we actually had planned to go to Oahu to see Pearl Harbor, but because the government had closed down, we weren't able to get there. And we just found that out one day before we were going to be going to do the bike ride. So we went ahead and did the bike ride. I couldn't have done that when I went on my first trip because my mom couldn't have ridden the bike or anything. And the second trip, the kids weren't old enough to ride the bike down. But this trip was just perfect to go ahead and do it. I actually did drive up the mountain, up to the top of Haleakala with the kids and my mom when I was there the second time. And it was so cool because we were driving through mountains or through the clouds, and I would have the kids roll down the windows and put their hands out and feel the mountains and everything. So it was really cool. But this bike trip down was great. They picked us up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We're riding in the bus to 6,500-foot level. And we were going to ride the bikes down to sea level, which was really cool. And our ride up there, I was pretty scared. I kept asking the driver questions about how often people fell off their bikes, how often people fell off or hit the guardrail and fell off the side of the mountain and stuff like that. I was really scared because it was a 6% grade. It was really steep. But I had to keep in mind that my husband and I both had been motorcyclists, in years gone by, and I should have known better, because what happened is as soon as we got on the bikes, my old motorcycling skills came into play, and we had a wonderful time riding our bikes down the mountain from Haleakala to sea level, and we went and had a fantastic breakfast, so that was a great trip. The third thing we did that was really pretty cool was we did a helicopter ride, and I had wanted to do a helicopter ride the previous times I was there. The first time I wanted to go, but my mom and sister weren't really interested in doing that at all, and the second time I was afraid to go because one of my husband's colleagues had lost two of his kids in a helicopter crash in Hawaii. So that was fresh in my mind, and at that point I didn't want to take a chance and take a helicopter ride. But this time I wanted to go do the helicopter ride, and recruited my husband to go with me since we couldn't go do the Pearl Harbor thing or anything. So it was a lot of fun. We went in the afternoon, and my husband was a little nervous because it was pretty windy. He was asking the woman behind the desk how fast the winds were blowing, and they were blowing at a pretty crisp 35 miles an hour. But our helicopter pilot was awesome. The takeoff was smooth, the landing was smooth. He took us around into some awesome areas of Maui, and then we also went over to Molokai. So we saw these sea cliffs that you can see in the opening shots of Jurassic Park movie that are like 2,000 feet long. They're the biggest sea cliffs in the world. And so it was really fascinating to go ahead and do that. And we bought the DVD of our helicopter ride. It just got in the mail recently, and we haven't had a chance to look at it, but we're going to do that sometime soon. So the helicopter ride was really cool. Every time I hear a helicopter in the sky now, I want to go up for another ride because I really, really enjoyed that. And then the day before we were going to head back, we were walking down to the pool, and my husband was like, "What's that?" And I looked down, and it was a gecko on the sidewalk. And I remember from my previous trips that people had told me folklore in Hawaii say that geckos are good luck. If you kill one, it's going to cause you bad luck. But if you see one, it's good luck, and it means you're going to return to Hawaii. So my first trip there, my mom and sister and I saw a gecko. Sure enough, I wound up going back. The second trip, when I was there with my mom and the kids, I saw one, and I wound up going back. And this trip, I actually wound up seeing two geckos, so I'm sure I've got 2 more trips left, and I'm going to be going back to Hawaii. So that was a nice way to end the vacation.